Robin, do you want me to start?
Just a second. The streaming is just about. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Student Government Candidate Debate. We will follow the same procedure as yesterday. You will have a chance to introduce yourself, what you're running for, and your candidate statement. If you are in need of closed captioning, please click on the live transcript and show subtitle. At this time, I would like to welcome and thank our facilitator again, Tyler Manning, Assistant Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for being here as a candidate or for somebody who is watching live on YouTube. My name is Tyler Manning, and I will be serving as the moderator for the student government debate today as we prepare for student government elections. Again, both debates have been sponsored by the Election Commission. The questions that I selected was in collaboration with Carson Bren, the election commissioner. The questions that we will be utilizing today are very similar to the ones we used yesterday. And I hope that today and tomorrow's debates are a valuable experience for all members of the student body to get to know the candidates who are running in student government elections this year. And please don't forget to participate in student government elections happening next week, Tuesday, March 30th and Wednesday, March 31st. So as we did yesterday, we will start by each candidate introducing themselves, the position they're running for, as well as their candidate statement. I will run it similar to yesterday. I will just call on the name of the person I see, and then we'll go in that order for the flow. So the first person I have speaking is Amina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amina Stahik, and I'm running for the position of Senator for the School of Engineering. And my candidate statement is, as Senator, I promise to accurately represent the students that I serve and to take every idea or concern into account. I want to ensure that every student has a fantastic college experience and feels welcomed and respected here at SIUE.
Thank you, Amina. Maddie.
Hi, I'm Maddie Walters, and I am a candidate for student trustee. This past year as student body president has been very busy, but my work is not done yet. As student trustee, I will work to advocate for all students and create a campus community that is diverse, inclusive, and exciting.
Thank you, Maddie. Next, we have Alexia.
Hello, I'm Alexia Burnett, but everybody calls me Lexi, and I'm running for Senator for School of Nursing again. And my candidate statement is, I'm a second-year nursing student, and SIUE has become a second beloved home for me. I have enjoyed serving as Senator for Nursing and being involved with the Finance Board, External Affairs Committee last year, ESA, New Horizons, and Student Nurses Association, and many more. I hope to be senator so I can share my love of SIUE while also helping fellow students become successful.
Thank you, Alexia. Ronald.
Hello, my name is Ronald Akpan. I'm currently serving as vice president, and for next year, I'll be running for the graduate senator position. My candidate statement is, as a graduate senator, I would like to be a guide for other graduate students at SIUE. Specifically, I would like to plan events that cater to the needs of graduate students that will best help them achieve success in their academic lives and future careers.
Thank you, Ronald. Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Gorin. I'm running for student body president. My candidate statement is, I'm honored to serve as the current senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, People and Culture. As student body president, I plan to continue advocating for a more accessible and inclusive campus, promoting more student involvement, and continuing to raise awareness for mental health and sexual assault awareness and prevention.
Thank you, Julia. Haley.
Hi, my name is Haley Odell. I'm running for student body president, and I currently serve as the senator for the School of Education, Health, and Human Behavior. And my candidate statement is, your vote helps decide the future of student advocacy. As student body president, I would work towards changing policies such as requiring students to be enrolled in summer courses to work through student employment, providing students previous course syllabi prior to registration, and providing funding for free on-campus hygiene products.
Thank you, Haley. And finally, Nicole.
Hi, my name's Nicole Obert, and I am currently running for senator for the School of Education, Health, and Human Behavior. My candidate statement is, I am so excited to potentially serve as your next senator for the School of Education, Health, and Human Behavior. My vision is to help people know more about how to apply to their programs and how their programs are working with COVID happening.
Thank you, Nicole. As additional candidates join in, we will make time for them to also introduce themselves. But in the meantime, we will get started with our first question. The questions are open to everyone unless I specifically say it is for the president, the vice president, and the trustee candidates. However, at times, you'll also still have an opportunity if you're not running for one of those positions to answer the question as well. So our first question, what do you believe is the primary mission and role of student government? And how will you work to achieve this mission and role during your term if elected? I will also be placing questions in the chat in case you need time to think of how you would like to respond to said question.
I'll go first.
Great.
I believe that the primary mission of student government is to represent the students in decision making and just making sure that they are having the most positive college experience that they can. And I will work to achieve this mission during my term by listening to what the constituents and the students of SIUE are saying and just applying that in all aspects.
Thank you, Haley.
Yeah, I'd say for the primary mission of student government is being a voice for students. And what I mean by that is actively engaging in communications with students, whether it's virtually, whether it's via social media, whether it's in person, if applicable, and using whatever feedback or information you hear from them and trying to implement those to have solutions that benefit those students' needs.
Thanks, Ronald.
I also agree with Ron and Haley that the main goal of student government is to just advocate on behalf of students, make sure that their voices are heard. And as a senator, I've been advocating for students, and I plan to continue that if elected as student body president.
Thank you, Julia.
I would have to agree that the role of student government is to be an advocate for students and the student voice, as Ronald said. And so for us to do that, we need to listen to students as well as provide a safe place for them to share what their needs and concerns are.
Thank you, Maddie. So before we move to our next question, I'm going to have Taylor Kaysen, if you'd like to introduce yourself, what position you're running for, as well as your candidate statement, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, my name is Taylor Kaysen. I'm running for senator for the School of Business. I am a sophomore, and let me get my candidate statement pulled up here real quick.
Wonderful.
Okay, as a leader in the Panhellenic community with experience in business, I have the necessary leadership and communication skills to represent your voice. I want to plan more safe, in-person opportunities for students to get involved, meet their peers, and network.
Thank you, Taylor. Isabella, would you like to introduce yourself, the position you're running for, and then your candidate statement as well?
Yeah, sorry, I had some technical difficulties, so I'm on my phone now. But
You're okay.
So I'm running for vice president. I'm Isabella Pruitt, and I can pull up my candidate statement real quick. So taking action and getting results. As your vice president of the student body, I advocate for you and your peers while continually promoting diversity, sustainability, and mental wellness while we move forward and back to normalcy. I vow to make SIUE students my #1 priority.
Thank you, Isabella. So our next question for everyone is the following. What are some of the goals, projects, and initiatives that you hope to achieve during your time in office if elected? And feel free to either raise your hand or just unmute yourself and speak. We have a little bit of a smaller group today.
I will go first again.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. You're good, Haley.
Okay,
Alexia?
So this past year, I've had a lot of difficulty communicating with the nursing students because I don't have access to the emailing list. So I'd have to email the assistant dean like a copy of what I want to say to the students, and she usually does not send it out. So I'm thinking about making a Facebook or group. Like we have a group me for just my class, but I want to extend that out to all nursing students. That way there's more communication, and I would love to have more in-person study groups next year, COVID allowing, obviously.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alexia. Haley.
Yes. Okay. So one of the projects that I would like to see is an increase in sustainability on campus, specifically within the MUC. So I want to provide options for students to be able to bring reusable products with them to the MUC rather than using the plastic bags if it's something that they are interested in, just so it's an option for them to have a more sustainable lifestyle. So just finding some way to provide bags and things like that that they can take back and forth rather than using the plastic ones.
Great. Thank you, Haley.
I'll just hop on and talk about mine. So I'm currently working on 3 accessibility resolutions, and I will be continuing to work on those if elected as student body president. I also plan to update the inclement weather policy regarding like attendance, just so that students will not be marked tardy during those times because it is difficult to travel to campus. And then I also plan to expand knowledge about access and counseling and health services and the SIUE Peace Office. I would like to expand the resources provided by and access to the Career Development Center. I would really like to create an accessible database for students regarding like finding internships based on their major. And then I would like to ensure that all faculty are properly trained on how to use Blackboard and really just like having students' current grades readily available, because that's a concern that I've heard a lot of students bring up. And then lastly, I would like to implement a mid-semester faculty review survey to be completed by students, so that way they can like voice their concerns before it's too late, so that they still have the chance to succeed that semester and the professor knows what they need to improve on.
Thanks, Julia.
So as mentioned earlier, I'm running to be a graduate senator. So a lot of my initiatives are going to be centered around graduate students and making sure that they feel connected to SIUE, because there's some graduate students like myself who will have gone to SIUE for undergrad, but there'll be a lot of them who do not go to SIUE, so they have a lack of connections or just very out of the loop of events. And being a graduate student is definitely another setback along with that. So one thing that I would do to try to help bridge that divide is having different graduate fairs or maybe different career fairs that are more geared towards graduate students that, you know, maybe require master's or doctorate degrees, so that they feel more engaged or that they have more information on, you know, how to find employment or how to know like what the next steps are for them after they finish with their academic pursuits.
Great. Thanks, Ronald. Isabella.
Well, there are plenty of things I could talk about, but one thing I wanted to focus on was student involvement, especially as a freshman, especially as a freshman senator this past year. I think it's important that we involve people, and especially with COVID, I was lucky enough to have been pushed to do things like student government and Alpha Phi because I already had friends here who were participating in stuff like that. But there's so many freshmen that I know personally who are in my own dorm hall who aren't involved. And I think it's really important that we start pushing student involvement. So that includes things like more activity fairs. I know there's one like at the beginning of the year, but I mean, I know I didn't go to anything and like it isn't really pushed. And I know now, especially like that I am involved, I would love to go and see like what's going on, what we can do in the future, you know, stuff like that. So I think an activity fair would be great. I think more communication would be great. I think being able to make it easier for tabling in freshman dorms would be great. Just finding ways for freshmen to get involved, because what happens all the time is when the freshmen don't get involved, they don't ever want to get involved. So they like start out not being involved at all freshman year and then continuing that path for the next like 3 years.
Thank you for sharing. So a few of you have started to address this in some of your previous responses, but to narrow it down, what do you think is the most pressing issue facing SIU students today, and how would you advocate for students with this issue to help resolve said issue?
I think right now, like specifically during this time with everything being virtual, I think it's the Zoom fatigue and burnout, which we also talked about yesterday, a lot of us during the debate. I guess how I would plan to advocate on behalf of students for that is to expand those mental health resources and counseling service and really just end that stigma against like the mental health. And like I would like to see student government like advocate to like against that stigma as well. Like it's okay not to be okay.
Thanks, Julia. Isabella.
There you go. So I think that mental health resources are also like very important. We had this question yesterday in the debates, and that's what I mentioned. But I also think an important thing that's very pressing right now is lack of communication and lack of involvement. And I understand that because of COVID-19, it kind of goes hand in hand. So I mean, it's kind of the same thing. But I think that it's important that we push involvement and we push more of like a community. I feel like even people, again, on campus, like being on campus myself, there's still this lack of community because of COVID-19 and because of burnout and because of all that. And I think as student government, we should be able to push like involving students and making people feel like they're actually like a part of the Cougar community and stuff like that.
Thank you, Isabella. Haley.
Yeah, so going along with pretty much both of those, COVID is really affecting students. That's the most pressing issue on campus right now, I think. But along with that is the academic aspect of how COVID has affected everybody. So like I've heard from a lot of students, they struggled with the asynchronous or synchronous classes or just like online in general. So they signed up for an in-person class, but that class ended up being virtual anyways. And just a lot of confusion and miscommunication there, and also just struggling overall in online classes. So just having more transparency with all of that, and also pushing for our tutoring services more if we find students that are having a hard time, just making the things that we offer at SIUE more known to all of the students, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Haley. Maddie.
I would have to agree that COVID-19 is behind the most pressing issues that are facing students right now. As I said yesterday, students are facing problems that we've never had to face before, and college is hard enough as it is without having to try to learn in the middle of a pandemic. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen because of COVID is the inequality that students have in access to finding a quiet space to work or having technology that is efficient. And I think student government does need to address that by working with ITS and with the provost in order to make sure that it is as equitable as it can be right now.
Thanks, Maddie. So something that I've heard from several people through your responses is this need for getting out resources, building community with other students. I think especially over the last year, we've seen a lot of obviously virtual or hybrid programming, which has led to probably feelings of isolation and not knowing how to be connected to the campus. So as we're learning more about the vaccination rollout and as we're hoping for a more in-person experience in the fall, what role do you think student government plays in building that community for students? And how would you plan to support that building of the community and ensuring resources are shared out with students? Isabella.
Well, going back to what I said before, I think student government should serve as that bridge of communication between the students and student organizations and administration and all that. So I think it's important that as we start going back in person, when it's safe, of course, that we continue to push involvement, push activities, fairs, and like make sure that the student organizations are closely tied with student government so that we can properly represent those groups, and so that incoming freshmen and even my class, I'm currently a freshman, people who have mostly not had an in-person experience, that they feel comfortable coming back and they feel comfortable joining things and becoming involved like they should be.
Thank you. Haley.
Yeah, I was gonna say pretty much what Izzy said at the end there about her class, the freshman class this year, class of 2024, not really getting the in-person experience. So in the fall, if we are back pretty much in person for the most part, we have 2 classes who have not been through like a normal college experience, a normal SIUE experience. So pushing, sorry, I have a child here. That's why there's noises. I don't know if you guys can hear them.
Hey, you're totally okay.
I am just pushing that information out to both of the classes through possibly an option for an in-person springboard experience for the class of 2024 if they didn't get that already. And for the class of 2025, kind of making that more mandatory to learn all of these things so that they have the resources, because I know I learned about all the resources on campus because I like made a point to learn about them. So people who don't really like put themselves out there don't have the opportunity to learn about them. So just making that a little more mandatory.
Wonderful. Alexia.
So most of my constituents have already gotten their vaccination. So that part I don't really need to worry about because yeah, but I definitely think we should have like a certain spot on our COVID website about the information about each shot, like Moderna, Pfizer, and then the Johnson & Johnson, because I've heard a lot of people are having side effects from the Johnson & Johnson, and I also heard that it's less effective than the other 2. Granted, you just have to get 1, not 2, but I definitely think that there should be a place for students to go to find this information. That way they're not just relying on Google or Wikipedia or something like that. That way they have a more reliable source to find out, because I definitely think they need to feel comfortable in order to have a more successful experience coming back, hopefully.
Thanks, Alexia. So our next question will start with responses from our presidential and vice presidential candidates and our trustee, but any senators are also welcome to answer following those responses. This past week, we heard from various SIUE administrators discussing the work being done at SIUE related to the university's reckoning with systemic and institutional racism and an institutional journey to justice. What role does student government have in dismantling racism and moving towards racial justice? We will start with Haley.
Yeah, so the first step I think is, like Izzy and I talked about a little bit yesterday, we can't just say that we're not racist. We have to say we have to be anti-racist. We have to be proactively anti-racist. And some of the things that I would like to do is have our marketing director put on our social media either bi-weekly or monthly, something like that, just infographics and talking about racism and diversity of all types, and also just having like open discussions about that and being open, and because again, the best way to dismantle racism is to talk about it. So just having open conversations and being anti-racist.
Thank you, Haley. Julia.
I mean, Izzy raised her hand first, so if Izzy would like to go, you can go first.
You can go ahead, Julia. Since you're also the presidential candidate, you guys can go first.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I just didn't want to take over. I agree with Haley that we need more marketing and communication about being anti-racist, and you can't just say that you're not racist because this and that. You need to actively show it and participate in the community and work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. But something that I've noticed is that not a lot of people, especially students, are attending the anti-racism workshops, which are offered for free to students. And they are actually like a really great resource. And I don't think that they should be required. I think that they should be promoted a lot more. And again, that would be through our marketing and communications person, as well as like through professors on their Blackboard. They could post an announcement just so more people are made aware of it.
Thanks, Julia. Isabella.
Well, I talked about this a lot last time, so I won't go through the whole spiel again. But as Haley was talking about, it is more than just talking about it. It's more than just, claiming that you're an anti-racist institution. It's actually taking action towards it, understanding the systematic racism that is very much present in higher education, and how we can take away those gaps between lower income communities and minority communities, and understanding what they're going through and being understanding of that. And that can lead to so many different things. You can talk about, when it comes to income, scholarships, stuff like that, but also their experiences here, making sure that they're comfortable here, making sure that they have their own community here. And I think that can be done in a variety of ways, the workshops, as Julia mentioned, but also things like promoting Black and minority organizations, student organizations, and their resources and stuff like that.
Thanks, Izzy. Maddie. Maddie, did you raise your hand to talk?
Yes, I did. Sorry, my internet froze.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to make sure you heard me.
So this is a very complex issue, and systemic and institutional racism are embedded deep in society, and they're not going to go away anytime soon. But if student government is going to take part in dismantling this racism, we need to recognize where there is racism and then take action. And we also are advocates for all students, and we need to be inclusive of all students when we do this. And so in order to tackle racism, we need to be considerate of the diverse group of students that we represent.
Thanks, Maddie. I believe we've heard from all the president, vice president, trustee candidates who are here. So senators, senator candidates, what would you like to share related to this question?
Yeah, so I'd say with this issue, it's very much a actions speak louder than words concept, because, as everyone, like all the presidential VP and trustee candidates have mentioned too, it's like, you can say that you're an anti-racist or say this, but if you're not, bring forth different implementations or different, like workshops or activities, ways to address this, but also to take it a step further to resolve these issues. Unless you're doing that, then it's hard to really say that, you're trying to fix this issue. So yeah, just kind of bring forth different programs, like I've been mentioned earlier, to try to dismantle this issue. And also, like I know I mentioned yesterday, communication, just, whether it's, communicating with other people from different backgrounds, different groups, just to gain perspective on, what's happening, what they're feeling, and how, something that may be a minor issue to others may not be that way for other people. So just kind of having an open mind when communicating with others is very key.
Thanks, Ronald. So our next question again is open to everyone, for whoever would like to start. How do you plan to address the growing mental health crisis on our campus? And what are your thoughts related to student government's role related to access to resources, education, and addressing mental health across diverse student populations? Izzy.
Once again, I did answer this yesterday, so I'll shorten my response. But as I said yesterday, I went through counseling myself, and I know how the services work. So I think that it's important that we address that those resources could be better and more accessible. And I know, I think it was Maddie talked about yesterday about how there was a fee that was discussed, and student government wholeheartedly disagreed with it. And I think that as we move forward, that we should still continue that, because I think it's important that we don't create that barrier for students who want to access mental health resources. I also think that it's important to get to the root of the problem, and instead of waiting until students are so stressed out that they need to seek counseling, that we start also making sure that the professors are aware of burnout and aware of stuff like that, so that they can implement mental health days, like weeks that are less work heavy and things like that. And also for them to be more understanding when people are burnt out and things like that, so that they aren't taken back for just having these issues that should be normalized.
Thank you. Julia.
So kind of bouncing off of what Izzy said, and I also already talked about this a little bit in my previous responses, but I would really like to see the student government continue to like make a point to like say that it's okay, you know, to like I said, not be okay, you know, for lack of a better term. And I would also really just like to see student government continue to do those mental health weeks that some of the senators have been working on, because I think that's really nice. But I'd like to see that like maybe instead of just like once a semester, like maybe once every other month, or even once a month if possible. And I think that is very possible.
Thanks, Julia. Alexia.
As everybody's been saying, I really like the idea of the mental health breaks that people have been saying. I don't know who all said it, and then I also think that there should be like a tabling every so often done with the health services, like that way people could have like more information about, you know, like it's okay to, like Julia said, it's okay to not be okay. And here are some things that could be going on. That way they feel more, you know, maybe this is what I got going on and I should go see if I can do something about it, you know?
Thanks, Alexia. Haley.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So just going off of what Izzy said about the professors, I think that it's very important with mental health to be proactive rather than reactive. So preventing burnout before it happens, and having lighter weeks, and not cramming a whole bunch of exams back to back. And I've had a couple of professors that they're like, I know that you all get exam or like term papers that are due at the end of the semester. So to make that a little easier on you, we're going to make it due in the middle of the semester. And just having, making teachers or professors just like more aware and being, again, proactive about that rather than not being understanding. And just most professors, like I said before, are super understanding, but just kind of almost like requiring them to be more understanding about students' mental health. And again, I've heard from students who said like that they didn't get their paper in on time for something because of their mental health. They had a lot going on, and the professor responded with like, I'm sorry, you've had so much time to do this. That's not an excuse. And whenever I feel it very much is an excuse. So just kind of educating professors more on the mental health crisis and things like that.
Thanks, Haley. Taylor.
So the mental health week that was hosted last year, I think it's really important to repeat that and kind of make it a tradition of something that we do every year, and just kind of survey students after it happened to see what they liked and what they didn't like, so we can continue to make it better every year and fit it to people's needs, as well as working with health services to create events every month instead of just once a week every year. And with those events, creating a virtual option as well as an in-person option for people that don't necessarily live on campus if they still live at home, so that they can still participate. And that way it'll be easily accessible to all students.
Thanks, Taylor. Amina.
I would definitely like to see like a mental health break or a mental health days system implemented. I think that would help tremendously with that. I would also like to make sure that we make sure that there is like no fee when you go see the counselor. I would like to continue to make sure that doesn't happen, so that way it's accessible to everybody. And going off what Haley said, just educating professors on how to handle students who deal with mental health and to not just brush them off, but how to sort of respond to that and accommodate them if needed.
Thank you. Maddie.
I think there are several ways that student government can address the growing mental health crisis on campus. One is to continue to make it accessible, like we did this past year with fighting against the proposed copay. Also to make sure that students are informed about the different resources that they do have on campus, and also to end the stigma through conversations and events such as the I Have a Reason mental health.
Thanks, Maddie. Before we move to our next question, I'm going to have Sean introduce himself, what position he's running for, and his candidate statement.
Hi, I'm Sean Gillis again. I'm running for graduate senator, and my objective with student government is to facilitate a more smooth transition back to in-person learning and help students in these unprecedented times.
Thanks, Sean. So accountability and transparency are important to the work that is done within student government. How would you, in your role, if elected, ensure that transparency is achieved with your constituents and the larger student body? And then how can those individuals, or how can the students and the student body hold you accountable to the goals and what you set out to achieve during your term in office? I'm on mute. We will start with Haley.
Okay, sorry, I was waiting for it to send in the chat. I just like to look at it, but no, that's okay. That's what I was just not answering right away for. So students holding me accountable. Like I said, I tell voters whenever I'm talking to them about how achievable my platforms are and how they are already some of them are in the works from previous student body presidents, and those student body presidents that didn't work for them, they've told me what did work and what didn't work and how I need to go about that. So just holding me accountable for that is just voting for me, and because my platforms are achievable, like I said. Sorry, now I have the question. I'm trying to read it.
Yeah, my apologies.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Also with transparency, I also talk about this a lot in my initiatives, and just like making the student government Instagram and just all the social medias more available to students, like so that they know about it more, requiring just like the marketing and communications officer to just like reach out and have more people follow us so that they do know what's going on in student government, because we do a lot that students don't see. So I would like to see, I would just like to see students to have a better understanding about what we do.
Thanks, Haley. Izzy.
Bouncing off of Haley, I think having achievable goals is very important, and also being very clear of those goals. Like I mentioned yesterday, saying things like, oh, I want to promote diversity. I want to deal with mental health resources. That is great. And I'm glad that so many of us have those same ideals and those same platforms. But having specific goals is also very important. And I think it's important for students who are interested, who care, to be able to see these goals and see how we are progressing them and how we are moving forward. I think with transparency, it's also communication and making sure that the students are aware of what we do. Like Haley said, a lot of students, especially I know freshmen, when they hear I'm in student government, they have no idea what they do. Even people I know who are also involved, who are in things like CAB and stuff like that, who aren't necessarily like in clothes and isn't like going out and doing things, they still don't know what we do, and they don't understand like what our purpose is or what we even do. So I think it's important through transparency to be clear not only of our goals, but be clear in general about what we do and what we plan to do.
Thanks, Izzy. Maddie.
I would have to agree that making your goals very clear is an important part of being transparent. And then that way, other members in student government can hold each other accountable and make sure that we are each achieving our own goals and our collective goals. And as I mentioned yesterday, our student government Senate meetings are live on YouTube, just like this candidate forum is. And if you want to attend and watch those, you can leave a comment that will be read in open forum. Your opinion will be heard by student government if you would like it to be.
Thank you, Maddie. Sean.
I definitely agree with all the stuff that's been said already. I think it's very important that we're transparent. And I think a big portion of that is making sure not only that we have all of our reports and documents available to people, but to make it very easy to access those. So I've encountered this situation myself sometimes trying to navigate SIU's website where things are, you have to go through all these different links just to get to one thing. And I think, if we prioritize being able to get people these documents more directly, then people will more likely want to look at them and provide feedback to us, and then we can better achieve our goals through that.
Thanks, Sean. Julia.
So something that we have done as senators that Vice President Ackpan asked us to do was to outline our goals and initiatives just so the student body can see that on our website. And I think that's pretty normal, but I think we should continue to do that for all senators as well as executive position members, just so everyone knows like what your goals are. And that way you can also hold yourself accountable as well as the student body holding you accountable. And then along with everyone else, I agree that transparency is extremely important. And I'd just like to see all of this continue with the goals and initiatives being listed on the website.
Thanks, Julia. So our next question, what are some ideas you have to better facilitate communication and engagement with your constituents? And for our president, vice president, and trustee candidates, similar question, but instead of just your constituents, like the larger student body. Haley.
Yes. Okay. So obviously right now office hours are open to students and they can come in and talk to president, vice president, trustee whenever they have office hours, and also all the senators. But again, that's just like not very before I was a senator, I would have been terrified to go in and talk to these people that I didn't know. So just making a connection with students as much as possible through things like Springboard and what is it called? The SIUE experience at the beginning of the year, just kind of being there and making an appearance and making myself known to the students so that they do feel comfortable if they need something to come into office hours and talk to me.
Thanks, Haley. Izzy.
I agree with Haley. Once again, as a freshman who came in this year, I felt very disengaged in the community, and I felt like I was lucky enough to have friends who were already involved, who pushed me to be involved. But without that, I don't think I would be doing anything but schoolwork right now. I think it's really important that we do put ourselves out there. I know, like with office hours, I've had maybe a dozen people in this entire school year to come in and talk to me. about things. And I think it's more about outreach. I know students don't really, again, like Haley said, feel comfortable coming to the student government office and things like that. So like if we have the SIU experience in person, obviously COVID friendly, if that's possible. But even if not, just finding ways that student government can reach out to freshmen, reach out to new students, and even my class, even though like we're not going to be freshmen next year, we still aren't really comfortable. We don't know what's going on. I think outreach is really important. I know like I have a lot of group chats with a lot of people in my grade, and what I'll do, like not official or anything, just like with SIU E24. And I think it's important that we talk to them, and even like Facebook groups and things like that. Outreach, I think, is really important when we talk about transparency and advocating for our students.
Thanks, Izzy. Amina.
I think regularly sending out like anonymous surveys would be a good idea. Just like, hey, how do you think I'm doing as senator? Is there something I could improve on? Is there something you want to tell me? I'm sure like a lot of people have great ideas and they want to speak up, but they're afraid to, but they're less afraid when it's anonymous.
Thanks, Amina. Sean.
I've had the virtue of serving, right now it's been like 2 years as an engineering senator previously. And so I've been able to learn from experience what works and what doesn't work with communication. And what I've discovered works really well is to take surveys, but to do it in person. So what I did for one of my survey events is I set up a physical table in the engineering building where all the students have to go through. And I had it like right during like lunchtime when everyone's getting in and out of classes. And I created a survey that's just one page, and it's mostly like scales and like or dislike things. So it's like not very complicated, but I didn't think that was enough. And what I did to get even more people involved is I ordered a ton of donuts, and I had everyone who completes a survey gets a donut. And it turns out when you give people donuts, they really like to tell you how they feel.
Everyone loves a donut, so I love that, Sean. Ricky, would you like to introduce yourself, the position you're running for, and your candidate statement for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Hi, my name is Ricky Beck, and I'm running for student trustee. As trustee, I will advocate for the student body by creating resources for students to give feedback, such as polls, surveys, and reaching out to students at any chance I get. Also, along with this, I'll be giving 1 to 5 minute video recaps with the trustee meetings and any other student government meeting that will speak out about how these items will impact the student body.
Thank you, Ricky. So our last question for today's debate is the following. Do any candidates have any closing remarks or comments that you would like to leave with those who are watching the debate now or who might watch later? This is your last opportunity in this forum to provide any comments or feedback about your candidacy for your position and why you should be elected by the SAU student body into your position.
I can start it off if you want.
Great.
My main thing is that I want to get nursing students more involved. We have crazy schedules, especially with clinicals, and freshman year, like all the prereqs that you have to do in order to get into the program is crazy enough. So most people don't even go out and do anything. And I would love to see more nursing students getting involved, especially after all this COVID stuff. It's definitely good for mental health.
Thanks, Alexia. Maddie.
To the students watching, I really want to remind you that student government is here for you. We are advocates for the students. So don't be afraid to reach out to me, to reach out to anyone here who's going to be in an elected position next year, and let them know what you want from them. Let them know what you want student government to do to best advocate for you.
Thanks, Maddie. Ricky. Oh.
There we go. To kind of go off the same thing that Maddie said, we are here for the student body. We're here to give you guys a voice. Do not be afraid to come up to us and talk to us and give us information or give us feedback. We are here for you. Like, absolutely, we want to make this school better. We want to do whatever we can to make this place better for you in a better environment. We want to make this your home. So let us know what's going on and we will definitely help it fix it.
Thanks, Ricky. Izzy.
Bouncing off both of them, student government is a place for people to have a voice. I was lucky enough to join student government this year as a freshman, and I think that I would be a good vice president because I've seen that lack of representation. Like, I've seen how it feels to not have a voice. I mean, again, like, I have an immigrant mother. I came here as a first generation. I understand how it feels not to have a voice, and student government gave me the ability not only to have that voice, but to give those voices to other people and to hear them out, and not to be their voice, but to represent their voices individually. Yeah, student government is great and everyone in here is great. And I'm really glad that a lot of us do have the same ideals, and that no matter who's elected, that we are all good people and all have amazing things to look forward to.
Thanks, Izzy. Sean.
I also agree with what's been said. I think with student government, we have a more formalized way of directly interacting with faculty and higher ups at SIUE, so that, students don't feel like they just maybe like sent an email out into the void, for example. And I think my candidacy, I think I'll be a good representative for graduate students. And I feel like graduate students aren't often considered in the equation when we're talking about the issues pressing everyone in the SIUE student body. But I believe with my help, we can more directly benefit those graduate students and get them the resources they need to have success.
Thanks, Sean. Julia.
So I just wanted to say the last few things. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all for being here. And Tyler, thank you so much for the past 2 days. But I really just wanted to say that I would really also just like to see there be more advertising for the availability to meet with the constituents and really just students in general as student body president. And I have seen that already, but I'd like to see that continue to be promoted. And I just want to see be actively available to try to include all of the schools to have that availability on hand.
Thanks, Julia. Haley.
Yeah, so just for the people watching, I just want to emphasize that everything that I'm running on, I am very passionate about. So if you have any further questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me and ask questions, and I will be more than happy to answer them. Yes, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Haley. Amina.
I was muted. Just for everybody that's watching, I mean, the whole reason that I'm running is for you, from my fellow peers, my fellow students, and I'm here to help. And that's the reason why I want to be senator. And so don't be scared to reach out. Don't hesitate. I'm here for you 24/7.
Thank you, Amina. Well, that is the conclusion of our second debate for the SIU student government elections. I just want to give a big thank you to all of our candidates for attending the last 2 days. I hope this was a meaningful experience for you to be able to share your platform with the rest of the SIU student body. And for those who are watching, I really hope you consider and think about the choices that you'll be making in your election when you vote on Tuesday, March 30th and Wednesday, March 31st. I'd like to give a special thank you to our Office Support Specialist in Student Government, Robin Ermer, for managing all the back end logistics for the last 2 days. This is a heavy feat, so I appreciate the work you've done. And I'd also like to give some thanks and congratulations to Carson Brim, our election commissioner, for managing this process and coordinating our the election process for this year. So without further ado, I will turn it back over to Carson. Thank you all for having me serve as a moderator for the student government election debates. Carson, take it away.
I just want to say, first of all, you're all amazing. I know that no matter the outcome, SIUE student government is going to be in wonderful hands. I really enjoyed sitting here listening to what all you have to say the past 2 days. Thank you to everyone who attended for all the candidates, to anyone who sent in questions or watched on YouTube. Elections are next Tuesday and Wednesday, so that's super exciting. Just a reminder that campaign materials, need to be removed by 11:59 on April 1st. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Keep sending me your campaign materials. Thank you to Robin for doing all the behind the scenes work for this, and to Tyler Manning for facilitating. Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Carson, before we end, and I don't know if you're the right person to answer this, but for those who are watching, how will they be able to do voting on Tuesday and Wednesday? Do they just log in on Get Involved? Will an email be sent? Whomever is the right person to answer, I think that might be something helpful to share.
Yeah, it is. The elections are on Get Involved. And there will be a link they can click on our website. And I'm going to have our marketing communication officer also post on our social media the link for connecting to it. And all of these candidates have the link also that has been sent to them via email that they can share with their constituents. We also will have tabling open in the Goshen both days from 10 to 2, I believe, where we'll have laptops
3:30.
set up for, what is it?
3:30.
3:30. Okay, 3:30. And there'll be laptops there where students walking by can stop and vote.
Thanks, Robin.
That's all I have. You guys are free to go. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
I think that went well.
Do we want to stop casting the YouTube?
Oh yeah. Give me a second.